Thank you for your assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, if I can remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones for the service.
Adonai roi lo echsar inot sheyaret mitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleini nafshi yeshovet nafshi yeshovet Yarcheni b'madlei tzedek leman shemo amek yelech lo irara Ki ata imadi shivetecha umishanetecha shivetecha umishanetecha emaye nachamuni Daroch lefanai shulchan, Daroch lefanai, Daroch lefanai shulchan, neged tzorerai, Ishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi Dishanta v'shemen roshi Vaya Ach tov v'chesed ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי את בית אדוני ושבתי בבית אדוני ליורך ימים.
I want to personally thank you for all being here today because I know how much it means to the family. Sally had such a beautiful smile, and I'm smiling because I remember her smile. And I thank the rabbis for it. This is the psalm, I look to the heights. Where does my help come from? It comes from God. Shir Lamalo Yavo Neim Adonai Oseh Shamayim v'aretz. Aiten lamot raglecha al yanu lo yashonu melo yishar shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai etzilecha al yad yeminecha Yomam Hashem lo yakeka Yareya Hine lo yanu lo yishar Shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha yad yeminecha Adonai yishmor tzeitcha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam.
I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm and guard your life. Adonai guards your going and coming now and forever. The psalmist speaks of protection and care. And when we offer comfort to mourners, we say Hamakom Yenachem Etchem, that God should offer you comfort. But it really means that this place, this community that you are a part of, is here to support you and walk this path of grief with you. You're surrounded by many people who love you and a community that cares for you very much. You should know that we are here with you days and years ahead, remembering Sally and her memory.
Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We read in the Proverbs, a woman of valor who can find, her work is far above rubies. Her husband praises her, her children too. Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Sally Spivak was a woman of valor. She sustained a loving Spivak, married for 51 years at the time of David's passing in the year 2000. She and David rejoiced in their 4 children, and just listen to this legacy. Children Gary, Paul, Marla, and Lori, and David and Sally welcomed into the family their spouses, Mary, Angel, Chris, and Lewis, and loving grandchildren, Jake, Ben, Patrick, Adrian, Valerie, Brian, Michael, Shane, and their spouses, Sandy, Kate, Hillary, Garrett, and Eleanor. Jamie. Sally lived a long and good life. She had a loving family and lifelong friends. She will be greatly missed. Sally was born to parents Bertha and Morris Sussman in Denver, 1928. She would have been 94 this month on December 18th. She grew up on the west side with her parents and brother Bob Sussman. Very much rooted in Denver, and Sally lived here her whole life. She grew up in a strict Jewish household. Was, of course, in religious observance for the family, and to school. They enjoyed the tight Jewish community that they lived in. She made many friends throughout. Very good from North High School. She and her Bob remained. Bobby had Sally served almost like a second mother, support Bob and help her recovery. Sally went on to the University of Denver. So I think I'd ask everybody, let's move in a little closer. We'll break the wind a bit. This microphone is not working so great, so I'll just try to raise my voice. Sally met David Spivak at DU. The two were introduced to each other through a mutual friend. They fell in love and were married in 1949. Their loving marriage lasted until David's passing in 2000. They had a wonderful marriage, connected to community and enjoying many friends. Theirs were years of dinner parties and New Year's Eve gatherings shared with other couples. They traveled often together with a travel club many of you know, Ports of Call. David was an avid golfer and he would play on many of their trips. They played bridge, they had fun. It was a good marriage. David and Sally rejoiced in their children, Gary born in 1950, Paul in 1952, Marla in 55, and Lori in 1960. Sally always centered her attention on family and loved having everyone together for the holidays. When the grandchildren came along, Sally was just ecstatic and loved them so. She had very close relationships with all of them. And the 2 great-grandchildren, Leonora, the 3 great-grandchildren, Zoe, the last of them just born this last month. And a 4th great-grandchild on the way. Sally was firm with her children having high expectations, and to see her children today, those expectations were met and far exceeded. She was a proud mother. Sally always reached out and had close relationships with her extended family. She grew up with cousins, Fran and Shirley, both passed away young, and their daughters, Donna and Joni, became like her daughters. Sally was forever moving and active. She received a teaching degree certificate and volunteered as a teacher of religious school. She was an active member of Hadassah. She was a community organizer. She was a Head Start teacher and a substitute teacher at DPS. She was also involved with the Synagogue Sisterhood. In her autobiography, Sally had pictures of the family Jeep trips She was an avid sewer. She golfed. She had pictures of her and David on cruises, pictures of them in Israel. The family was together. I often had a chance to speak to Sally at Lori and Lewis's Break the Fast. She was always a delight to speak with. The children were so pleased to see Sally soften and more easily show affection and love for her children and their children in her latter years. There's a lot more to say about Sally, and I hope we do speak about her more in the days ahead, indoors, be a little warmer. But suffice to say for now that Sally lived a good life, a long life with David, with their children, with a community of friends. We ask that she should be bound up in the bonds of eternity. Should now rest in peace. And let us say amen. I have some words written by Adrian that I'd like to say to you now, read to you now, and then we'll call upon Brian and then Ethan to say a few words. So this is Adrian's words. I'm sad to not be able to honor my grandmother's life in person with the family, but I'd like to offer a few words at a distance. I love a lot of things about my grandmother. I love that she sewed me purple dresses when I was a little girl because she knew it was my favorite color, which I didn't even realize for myself until many years later. And that I still have those dresses so that my daughter who is coming, her great-granddaughter, can wear them when she is little. I love her mandelbrot and cinnamon French toast, and that when I became vegetarian and would go over to her house, she would literally pull every item of vegetarian food from her refrigerator and freezer and sumptuously spread them on her table, insisting that I eat everything. I love that in her mid-80s, she flew all the way to Peru to see where I lived. And that when I told her about the Andean cosmovision and the Incan tradition while we were outside Cusco, she was open-minded enough to excitedly exclaim, "That's just like Judaism." I have not heard that before. I love her for letting me use her heart condition as the reason to get an emergency passport out of Peru, because then I was able to see her every week for almost a year. And I love that on those visits when we ate lunch together, it was the simple time with my grandma after having lived almost my whole adult life in another country. I love that she was what I was doing, and even if she didn't always get it, I was always happy for me. I love that in our last conversation, when I was fortunate to have with her 2 nights before she passed, she was still telling me that everyone in the family was doing, and I love that I had counted on her for that my whole life. I love the simplicity of our relationship, the simplicity of the sweetness of the heart. It didn't matter to me what we spoke about externally, because underneath, the essence of our relationship was pure. I know that she held a prayer in her heart for me always, a prayer that I felt helped me bring in my life. I loved my grandmother for being my grandmother, and I always prayed that my life would also honor hers. Adrian Spivak. Okay, I'll call upon Brian and then Ethan.
I have some notes, but you mentioned grandma was active. When I was thinking about just memories of grandma, and active is such a great word for her, because I just remember even when she was a candlewick, probably in her 80s, I would always want to sleep in, of course. And she would say, "Hey, I have water water aerobics at 8:30. You know, I would love for you to come down so you can just meet all my friends. And I did it once, I think. Like, I mean, they're active. She had like these melt jugs that she would use for weights in the water. And around, I'm off script, so I'm having memories too when I was listening to Addie's. I remember kid. I think all the grandkids at this point had mentioned the hammock and the garden and all that stuff. I remember the big like tomato caterpillars that she would point to all the time, and climbing on the furniture and falling off the furniture, and just a lot of memories. But I think the stuff I remember about Grandma that I wrote down, when Lauren, my spouse, asked questions and is really interested in history, which is something that I was never. So Lauren would always ask, like, teacher voice. So Grandma would talk for a few minutes and mention little stories. She played basketball. Daryl Lee as a kid, and we get these vignettes, and then her phone would ring, and she didn't know how to use her cell phone, so we'd just get distracted, or she'd want to make you lunch 20 minutes after she served your breakfast. And I'd call her in college, and I think my record in college was like a 3-minute phone call. She'd check in really quick, and then okay, bye, and hang up. And eventually I realized later on that if I just talked about family, that she'd just keep going. I remember the first time I had an hour-long phone call with her, and I was like super amazed, but we had a great conversation. And that was really the thing about Grandma, is she just loved family. She loved, I don't know if anyone here knew that, but she loved to talk about her family. And she was the communication hub. I wrote down she was Twitter before the internet, in a family that doesn't tweet much. And we've really, in some ways, been dependent on her to stay in touch. So, like, that's how I heard about Shane and Elena's new kid. That's how I heard about Paul's new knees. And wait, I wrote a joke in here that Gary, Jake, and Ben have enough experience moving Grandma's furniture and fixing her computer to start an internet repair and moving company. She talked about it a lot when I go visit. She's very proud of all the ways that I'll just get Gary to fix my computer. She would never work, things like that. But that's how I found out about the family. So, and I think, as I'm older and wiser and more interested in kind of more now that I have a family, I start to recognize kind of how important that is. And she's been the central hub for us. So now that she's gone, it's just a reminder I want to, thank her for being that person who kept us all together, and just be in touch.
Hi there. I probably knew Grandma in her later age more than the rest of the grandchildren, but I was very proud to have her as my grandma. And I just had some brief thoughts. When I was little, she used to substitute at the elementary school, and with my classes, she was pretty tough on everyone else. Pretty nice to me. But I was always really proud, nonetheless, that I would tell my classmates that this is my grandma. And I was so proud that she was, even in her 70s, 80s, she was, able to come substitute teach for us. And she was always just so present. She was probably the only grandma to attend the Denver Jewish Softball League over the summer and just be there for those games, and was just happy to be present and around family, and at really any moment she could. I was kind of amazed how gracefully she aged. She never really, her mental faculties never really declined. Even in later years, I was always laughing. She would tell me about what show she was binge watching on Netflix. I always thought that was really funny. I remember going to her 90th birthday party and thinking that my 90-year-old grandmother has more friends than I do. Her focus on family was unwavering. Typical phone calls or in-person visits, a brief check-in on how I was doing and what I was up to. We talked briefly about what she was up to, politics with Candlewick or other apartment buildings. Then we would spend the remainder, the majority of the time, talking about everyone else, just like Brian was saying. I'd hear about what Adrian was doing in Peru, what Jake was doing with Bob Dylan, and on and on. I think it just speaks to her love of family, how her greatest joy was to kind of be up to date with all family matters, and then to share that with others. She took really great joy in that. I got to spend a day with her a month ago. I took her to a doctor's appointment, and got her watch band resized, and got lunch with her, and it was very normal. And I really am very blessed that I had a last normal day with her. Really gonna miss her. Thank you.
Eternal God, creator of all life, you give the gift of your spirit and we are formed. We take it in return and we turn to dust. We're grateful for the many blessings in Sally's life. We now turn to you seeking comfort and light. Harachamim. Harachamam, compassionate one, grant us solace and strength. Reinforce our faith that you are a rock and redeemer. And let us say amen. While we continue the filling of the grave, I'd just like to announce that family will be receiving visitors on Sunday from the hours of 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we will have services, religious services that day at 4 p.m. And that's going to be at the home of Lori and Lewis, 5250 South Emporia Court in Greenwood Village.
Eliata ve'odeka Elohai aromemeka Eliata ve'odeka Elohai aromemeka Eliata ve'odeka Eliata ve'odeka aromemeka ve'odeka Eloi aromemeka Eliata ve'odeka Eliata ve'odeka Eloi aromemeka Eliata ve'odeka Eloi aromemeka
I'd like to ask the family please to rise as we recite the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, Yitkada, Shemei Rabbah, Telmad, Yibrach, Yurte, Yamlis, Makute, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei, V'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'adala, U'bizman, Kariv, V'meru, Amen. Shemei Rabbah, Mabarak, Ve'elam, V'lodei Maya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitroman, V'yitnaseh, V'yihadar, V'yitaleh, V'yihalal, Shemei, V'yiksha, B'richo, V'ela, V'yikol, B'yachata, V'shirata, V'shvachata, V'nachavata, Shamiran, V'yamah, V'meru, Amen. V'hei Shlama, Rabbanim, Shemaya, V'chaim, Aleinu, V'al Kol, Yisrael, V'meru, Amen. Oseh, Shalom, V'marav, Yaseh, Shalom, Aleinu, V'al Kol, Yisrael, V'meru, Amen.
משוכן במרומים המצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים טהורים כזוהר הרקיע מה זה ירים את נשמה שרה בת מוישה ובריינה שהלכה לעולמה. בגן עדן